You know, I don't say often enough how much. Oh, man, I got a nasty glare there. Get out of here. All right. I don't say often enough how much I absolutely love technology, and I mean that with the utmost of sarcasm. I just did a review on this amp, and unfortunately, my phone cut off about halfway through. So this is going to be the abridged version because I started to just wah 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 babble, and we don't need that. We can just get right into the soup and bolts and nuts and all that good stuff here. This is the Katana Artist Series KN100 or Artist 100. This is an amp that was one of the Mark I series amps. So there was, this is sort of the high end of that. There was a 212 non-Katana. So the Katana has like a nicer speaker, and it's got some other stuff that we'll talk about in a second. But the main line was a 50 watt 12-inch speaker, single 12. There was a 100 watt 212. There might have been a 100 watt 112 as well in the non-Artist series, but then there was this Artist which has the Katana Wazacraft speaker. It's a really nice speaker, sounds like a vintage 30, but it doesn't have that mid-range weirdness that some of the vintage 30s have. So this is the Artist. The difference is that it has a, let's get up on it, it has a cabinet resonance switch, so you can switch between vintage, modern, and deep. It's just sort of a speaker voicing type sound. It has a line-out air feel, so you can do record, live, or blend the two. And I haven't really used this much because I haven't really recorded with it. It's got a ton of crap on the back that you can plug into and out of, a lot more than the 50 and 100 watt non-Artist series, but you know, again, it's a matter of preference. You may or may not use that. This one also has 2 banks of 4 channels each, so this has 8 presets that you can access. You can dial those up and save them sort of on the fly, or you can use the desktop software. So right away, the blessing and the curse here is that you don't really know what you're getting into with some of these tones. You do have 3 different boosters or mods available. You have 3 different delays or effects available, and you have 3 different reverbs. So to cycle through those, you just hit the button, and it's red, yellow, and green. So there's green, that's one, red is one, yellow is another one. The knobs just adjust the intensity or the level, or in the case of delay, the amount of feedback that you get. So you can't really delve into that. And the other thing is the EQ. You've got your standard bass, middle, treble type configuration that you see on most amps. You know, I've got other amps, and that's basically what I have. Some of them have a resonance control, some of them have a presence. This one has a presence. But you can also add the Boss EQs. You can add like a 10-band EQ to this. And I'll talk about that in a second, but I have a number of my presets EQ'd a lot more than what the amp could do just on the front panel because I plugged in my laptop and really got into it. You have 5 different amps you can choose from here. You have brown, lead, crunch, clean, and acoustic. You have a gain control and a volume. The Mark IIs actually have an additional button, so you have 2 voicings for each of your amps, so you get 10 amps altogether, and that's enough of that. Let's listen to how it sounds. Starting with my A bank of presets, what I've basically done for myself is I have 6 different presets, so I've got all 4 on bank A, I've got 2 on bank B. I'll put 2 more on bank B and fill it out in a little while, but for now I get by with a clean, with a rhythm, with a lead, and then I've got some other funky stuff in there. So this is my clean sound. We're using the Gibson SG that I did a video about earlier, the SG Modern, and this is my clean sound. So I basically have a chorus, I have a delay and a reverb on here. It's just a spring reverb. It's a 400 or so millisecond delay, and then the chorus is fairly tame. It's not really crazy, but so that's my clean. That's the neck pickup. Again, that's a burst bucker on this Gibson SG. If I use Hello. If I use a Strat, if I use a different humbucker configuration pickup, we'll talk about that with some of the other guitars. If I use that Telecaster right there, that pickup that I'm actually pointing at with my little digit is much more glassy. Single coils obviously have that nice ring to them, but this is a very responsive amp when it comes to pickup configurations, even when it comes to the guitars themselves. I mean, I had EMG 81, 85 pickups in a mahogany body, then I had them in a poplar body, and the difference between the two, you could actually, I think, hear the difference, but I'm not a tone snob, and I don't really care as long as it just sort of sounds like I want it to sound. With that, channel 2 is my sort of go-to like metal sound, my metal rhythm, my Anthrax type Scott Ian rhythm tone. Or my, let's see, who else? My Dave Mustaine. Or my Metallica. That's not Slayer because I don't know any Slayer. Actually, that's not true. There we go. That was a very sad attempt at Seasons in the Abyss. Anyway, this is my rhythm sound, so I don't have any effects on there other than a compressor. I actually put a little bit of compression on there. I have it boosted with a Proco Rat distortion, I believe. Or maybe it's Ibanez Tube Screamer, I can't remember. But the nice thing about the booster mod, or the booster setting, is that it gives you a number of different overdrives and distortion to choose from. You can choose from the Boss Blues Driver, the DS1, that orange distortion pedal. Yes, I have one of those on my board, unfortunately. Tube Screamer, it's got a Rat, it has a Electro Harmonix Big Muff type distortion, or fuzz. So it's got a number of different things there. So no delay, no reverb, it's just a flat, really punchy type. And I don't really have the mids scooped too much on that. I have them scooped some, but not a ton. So channel 3 is the exact same amp configuration, the exact same EQ, but I just added some delay and some reverb. So it still has that nice crunch sound to it, but it has a little bit of delay and reverb. And the last on the front, or the A channel, or the A bank, I guess, is like just sort of a AC/DC type crunch. It's good for pedals if I'm using my pedal board to punch that up and make it more distorted with like a tube driver or an overdrive, or something like that. I'll get into that later, but it's one of those I just have available if I need it. In the second bank, I have two presets. One is like a Van Halen phaser type sound. So obviously I've got a like a phase 90 on that, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay. The other sort of fun preset that I have is like a Robin Trowery type Univibe type sound. Nice feedback to it, so right on the edge of breakup, but not quite there. The other two channels, I'm not even sure what those do. You can switch it over to panel if you want to mess around with the panel and just dial something up. But again, your problem is that you're limited by the EQ on this. You can do bass, middle, treble, and the presence, but you can't get into that individual band in like a 10-band configuration and really slice out some mid-highs or mid-lows. You just have to deal with sort of the bass, middle, treble. And it's not really necessarily an active EQ. It dials up, it dials down, but bass doesn't really impact treble, doesn't impact, you know, middle or anything like that. Like in some tube amp configurations, what you do with your, you know, your configurations of tone is going to make a difference. So the way that you have your bass turned up is going to in turn impact those frequencies that are getting through to your middle, and then you dial that in, and that's going to impact what gets to your treble. So you know, it's not as dynamic an EQ as a tube amplifier, but again, very convincing tube tones. Great amp overall. Value-wise, I mean, I'm using this instead of a Marshall stack right now, or a